Hello and welcome back to A Year of Poetry with Randall Eckstein. In this web series, I share my poetry with you. This week, I'm really pleased to tell you that I finally overcame my writer's block. I've been struggling for the last 2 or 3 weeks through children's illness, through life difficulties, to write something that I actually approved of. I've written some things, but they're all just kind of really not great. Just, putting in the daily work, trying to write something, anything, write a poem a day. But this time I wrote something that I think is actually worth sharing. So I'm going to share with you a new poem that I think is good, and an old poem, maybe 4 or 5 years old, but I think it's still a really great poem, and I'll tell you about it after the first poem. So this first poem that I'm going to read for you, wrote this week, is called Time Again. And because I've been having this writer's block, I started writing this poem trying to jumpstart myself, and it worked. The theme of the poem is, it's time to start writing again. So here we go. Time again. And it was time again. Moments had passed and passed again. The grains of sand running through the hourglass, each one proclaiming itself soundlessly to the cosmos that cared not. But it was time again. Time for the rebirth, time for the dying, time to awaken, time for the carrying off of the old and the rapture of the new. So long ago the old had sown the fertile fields and brought forth a bounteous crop. Now fallow they lie, begging for the turning of the soil. Aching dreams have carried off the dreamer. Longing fills the heart of the lover. Quiescence has caught the hunter. Time has done all he can do. And it was time again. Time to pick up the hoe and to dream again. Time to love and hunt, to give and take, to sleep and wake. Time again for all. So there it is, time again. It's time to start, time to get going. All right, well, the next poem that I'm going to read for you is kind of a little bit old. Maybe 4 or 5 years, I don't recall. But I have 2 sisters, and I haven't seen them for a long time. I had one sister come and visit me last year. It was great. She's all grown up. She's a mature young woman now. But in my mind's eye, I left America to come to China in 2003. And at that time, my sisters were something like 8 and 10 years old or something. I've always had that memory of them. They're forever 8 or 10 years old in my mind. Whenever I think of my sisters, even when I see them on Facebook or whatever, they're still 8 or 10 years old. And sisters, I'm sorry that if I offend you by thinking of you as a young person and not as a mature, sophisticated, independent adult. But yeah, I still think of you as little kids. I think I always will. So when I wrote this poem, I wrote it with my sisters in mind. It was they were my inspiration, my muse. This poem is about a young girl, like Anne of Green Gables, just sitting at the window, having this emotional response to life. The name of the song is called The name of the poem is The Open Window. So let's pull it up here. The Open Window. Here we go. She stands in an open window, stretches her hand out, whispers to the wind that she and he are one. The wind whispers the same, and blends her scent into the thousandfold breath of the autumn breeze. She gazes out on the world, the fullness and emptiness of petal, branch, stalk, and limb, blowing and tossing about. Such is the stuff of life, she thinks, and knows she is right. The world speaks to her, and she tenderly listens. She tastes the rhetoric, imagines the reply floating on the wings of the wind, and contemplates the answer. She's learned the timeless skills of patient contemplation, of yearning understanding, of loving without needing. She guides herself on a journey taken by poets and mystics and little girls who know before their time that they are women. yet still are child enough to preen and dance before the eyes of love and hate alike, and bring them all delight. She listens with her soul to the crying and the laughing that make up the world beyond the visions of her eyes, to hear the tinkling of angels' bells and the crystal tears of elves. She fetches a sigh, wipes her eyes, and finds herself once more. It's my earnest hope that all little girls can have that freedom of being just little girls and unafraid, believing in elves, following the fairies throughout the garden. I think even little boys should have their moments of being just innocent and loving. And that's what I hope that this poem captures, that essence of childhood. So I hope you liked these two poems today, and look forward to writing some more awesome work next week. I'm hoping, and I hope I don't paint myself into a corner when I say this, I'm really hoping to write a good story poem this week. That's my goal, is to write some kind of story. Hopefully we can get that done. Let's see what happens next week, okay? So until then, take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.